Yeah, go for it.
So we've been having this ongoing conversation for, like over a year now, it feels like.
I think so.
And I love the topic of looking at turning points in our life, both in our relationship with Jesus and then as creatives, kind of how our art evolves and the platform, and kind of the way in which we express our creative nature.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm just curious to hear a little bit from your story of like where you can see a turning point, where things took, kind of a different, almost like the purposefulness changed.
Yeah, no, totally. Like, because I grew up in the church and in music, in worship, doing that whole thing. But honestly, starting off in music for me was a self-centered goal. I joined, and not that being in a secular band means you have a self-centered goal at all, but for me it was. And I joined a band that, we were not a Christian band by any means, but getting to join a change of pace and being thrust into this successful band that was already touring and signed and just doing big things was a culture shock for me, in a good way and in bad ways. Being exposed to so much of the ugliness of the music industry just weighed down on me, but I can also see how that was used in formation. And
so how did that turn? Like, when did that change for you?
Yeah, I think I just got to a breaking point where not only from a creative standpoint, but just in my heart, as Jesus was getting access to more and more of my life, I came to a turning point of the only option was to surrender that area of my life to Him as well.
Yeah.
But the cool thing that happened through that, which actually birthed the Wild Earth project, was realizing that there doesn't have to be this sacred secular divide anymore when you surrender it all to Jesus.
So with what you're doing right now, leading worship in a local church, and then, this project Wild Earth, like, what's your vision for that? Like, how do you see God using those things, together and separately?
Well, Wild Earth birthed out of that desire to see the divide between the sacred and the secular go away. Because we were already doing stuff in the music scene and finding success there, actually, but taking away that need to manipulate and control it and just be authentic to what God was doing in our hearts, but not be afraid of taking that into the music scene and culture and being able to participate in the music culture while being unashamed and bold about our journeys with Jesus.
When there's like a commitment to being an agent of change. So like, I want to change some of the culture that's within the church. I want to change some of the culture that I see within the local music scene. And I'm responsible for being in both spaces. And I think for both of us, our desire is to really see God awaken something in the lives of artists, again, regardless of whether they're inside the church or outside of the church, that is like this kind of relational, like, mending, like healing. There's like a healing that needs to happen. It's like reconciling these relationships that exist separate, but they really shouldn't.
Yeah.
And that it would ultimately influence the culture in cities. So the church culture in Phoenix is different than it is in other places, and same through the kind of the music scene. Like, there are some similarities, but there's also some uniqueness. And so
Totally.
if we're going to own sort of the responsibility that we have to the place we live, this is God's rooted us here. So like, what's in front of us? Like, what are the opportunities in front of us to be a change agent within the church world, within the artist community, and how are we coming together? Like, where are those opportunities to come together? And I think that's a real significant work that we can spend our lives going after that. It's
right. Yeah, it's exciting, man. I'm loving the dialogue that we're having and the actual things that are happening in our city right now. So it's really exciting.
Yeah, I agree. More to come.